Good morning, sweet friends. Well, actually, it's almost afternoon, but today was my day to sleep in, and I took advantage of that. And after spending time with the Lord this morning, getting a bite to eat, getting everything ready to get this day started, it's almost noon. But welcome to Red Tool House. Today is the big day, so Troy's going to help me today fill all of the pathways with wood chips, but most importantly, to take up this tarp behind me and make this area ready for planting. We need to move some of this dirt to make a drainage for the water because it has been quite wet this season. But we need to address that, move that water to where it can drain away from just completely saturating the plants. We're going to set up a trellis here back in the area where we do have the tarps for 6 more tomato plants that I want to put in. I've got quite a few seeds I want to plant as well and hopefully get this garden into shape. I'm sick of looking at these tarps. I'm sure you are too. The alternative is going to be managing weeds, and I guess it is the season for that, right? We are not swimming in mud right now. It's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be in the low 70s, low humidity, so I'm so excited. We are able to get in here and be able to walk. So anyway, we want to get all of this hopefully covered in wood chips so that we can make this place more beautiful. In case I didn't show you specifically, this is what some of my tomatoes were looking like before I got them in the ground. So yes, they did bounce back and are doing much better. These are the 6 tomato plants that I'm going to get in the ground today. But here are, so far we've got 18 tomatoes here. 14 of these are Roma, and these last 4 here are San Marzano, which are very teeny tiny, but they were when I put them in, and they're probably a little bit stunted simply because I didn't give them a whole lot of time to get acclimated to the weather and to the sun. So I'm hoping that they are going to bounce back, and they do look like maybe they are. They do have quite a few spots where it looks like, I don't know if you can tell, but they're pretty light, where they got a little bit burned by the sun, but they do have some good green on them as well, so they are making a comeback. In this row here, we've got all of these. This is 6 tomato plants that I bought at the store. The last 2 down here are 2 more of those. So these 4 here are the last ones I planted that are the smallest. And then these 6 in this front row are Romas that I grew from seed. And they are looking pretty good as well. Small, but pretty good. My onions and peppers, doing well. Peppers here again, the taller ones are ones that I purchased. The smaller ones here are ones that I grew from seed. Here again, 2 smaller ones, some larger ones. Here I have, you've seen these if you've watched. We've got snapdragons here. And then here, which you haven't seen, I planted some echinacea that I grew from seed. And so I'm hoping those do okay. I had those out in the weather in trays for probably a week before I got to them to be able to plant them, and they were pretty wet in those trays. And so they're trying to get acclimated to the soil here. So hoping those come in really well. Looks like I've got some cucumbers back here sprouting in this raised bed, little raised bed that's going to be growing up this trellis here. And I put some on the other side as well that are sprouting. These poor little pea flowers, I have tried to position them over and over again to climb this trellis, and they've not had. So I've got, again, I've got some cucumbers in here as well, and then I planted some marigolds sporadically throughout here too. I'm hoping that Troy can also finish this, the 2 planter boxes for the front of these two beds here, just like we have here, so that we can get this trellis in and get some green beans planted there. Oh, how do you love my little stool? This is just a little stool my dad made when he was out here helping with these planter boxes. And these raised beds are hard on the back as well, just like bending down to these lower boxes. But so he made this little bench for me to carry around to sit on when I'm planting or harvesting. He's so thoughtful. In this bed here, along with these flowers, the snapdragons and echinacea, I've not uncovered this yet. I'm just postponing that, keeping it covered until we get the things that we want planted here. I've got a nasturtium that's volunteering from last year coming up. My Brussels sprouts, the couple here on this side are doing pretty well. This side not so good, but this elderberry bush is taking over, and I have cut it back so many times to try to keep it off this raised bed, keep these things uncovered, but it's a giant and it won't stop. My plan is here to plant some more of the perennial flowers. I am wanting to put in, actually I'm not exactly sure what I want to plant here, and that's one of the reasons I've kept this covered. We've got the same thing over here. These beds just get so overrun with weeds that I wanted to keep them covered as much as possible until I finalize what's going to go in there. I planted a couple of sunflowers here on the edges, planted some sunflowers over here in this bed as well. These are our daikon radishes, but I've got a few sunflowers popping up. I'm excited. This is pokeberry, which we keep, I don't know if you can see that, we keep trying, or we keep cutting that back to get rid of it. Timber, you stay out of that mud. Let go of this? Yeah. But now we might knock the other side off when we try to get this one on the correct side.
You think you're right all the time, don't you? I knew it was going to do that.
You think I'm right never. So it's okay.
I knew it was going to do that.
Whatever.
It's no problem that it does that.
I know.
Take going. Think it's my first rodeo or something?
You'd think so. How many rodeos have you been on?
I've been surrounded by a lot of bull, that's for sure.
Well, good morning. It is a new morning. Woke up this morning and it was 43 degrees outside. We are headed back out to the garden. We got pumpkins planted yesterday. We got wood chips moved around. We got a lot of weeding done. Troy is out there this morning trying to spread some more wood chips. Yesterday he was pretty sore. His ribs were bothering him from his fall off the ladder several weeks ago. And all of that work with the pitchfork spreading the wood chips for me got to him. So it was getting dark last night. We kind of wrapped up for the evening and we're back at it this morning. And so we've got zucchini and some summer squash to plant in our beds. And let's go see what it looks like this morning. So I can't believe the difference these wood chips have made. I knew it would, but until we see it, it just is so much better. So nice. He's got a thick layer in here. Keep the weeds down, and also for the mud, so that it won't just be a muddy mess. Let me show you the comfrey that we have spread out as well. I never dreamed that I would say we need more comfrey because we've had so much of it. And this has been really nice. So here's what I spread yesterday around these pumpkin mounds. This is still on this side, was a bit wet, so I haven't planted tomatoes, my last 6 tomato plants along this trellis just yet. Wanted to let that dry out just a bit, and he cut a drainage ditch for the water back here on the back side of that trellis so that any water coming down can just run down that way towards the elderberry there at the back. And we've got some pumpkin mounds, 4 pumpkin mounds on the other side there planted, and so we have the comfrey that's along the fence line there. I cut most of that way back to lay here on the ground. We've got some more comfrey plants. Let's see. He's got some up here in these beds I can cut. We have more out in the front of the house that I can cut as well. So I will cut those other comfrey plants down and fill in the spaces in between those pumpkin mounds a little bit more. We got this trellis put in, the second trellis here, and some new boxes down at the bottom, and I'm going to plant those with green beans. We got this bed over here weeded. We've still got a strawberry plant that came up here. What is left of my lavender here. And we're going to plant this area with some bush lima beans. Just as a little side note, it looks like I have a bloom on my flowers here. These are poppies. I've never grown poppies before. Got another bloom right here. Oh, here's another one right here. So I'm excited to see what those look like. I don't think I have any blooms on these. I've got some soil here that has been, the bag has been out in the sun for a bit and it's pretty dry, so I'm just trying to rehydrate this. What I'm planning to plant in this tray is I am going to get some sunflowers started in this tray, and then in the raised bed that I have here against the front of the garden that right now has cover on it, I'm going to, when these sunflowers, when I have a plant, have some starts, I'm going to burn holes in the fabric and try to do quite a few sunflowers in that raised bed. And so instead of planting seeds, I want to do starts so that I can make sure that they're going to be right inside those holes that we burn, instead of trying to hunt for them if they got moved a little under the fabric. I'm also going to do the same thing for zucchini and squash. I only want 1 or 2 plants each of those, so I'm going to go ahead and start them in these plastic containers, just so that I can burn the holes, plant the starts in the fabric, and keep those beds weed free. That's my plan. I think these beds are so overrun with weeds that I think that for now that's going to be the best way to keep those at bay. These beds are so big and I don't want to spend all summer weeding. I know that we're going to be pulling weeds anyway, but I just think that it's going to be easier. I also wanted to show you, since we've been out in the garden this morning, I showed you this morning the blooms that were going to, well, I showed you the buds that were going to bloom, and I came back about an hour and a half later and one was blooming. Now the yellow one is blooming, and I'm wondering if that third bloom, oh, I've got 2 more, one here and one here. They may be a little small yet for putting on a bloom. This is a mix of poppies. It's called a rainbow mix. So we need to see what pops up there. I am going to wrap it up here for the day. I've got quite a few things planted. Troy is still working on a raised bed for me. He's planting another raised bed up here to move our lavender to, and maybe I'll plant some more seeds of lavender for the future, because I do want that to grow and expand and be able to cut it, to be able to use it inside. Right now it's not looking so great. It is over here in this corner and needs to be dug up and given soil that's a little more sandy while draining. It's kind of down in a hole right now, so we're going to get that moved. We did not get to our lima beans. We did not get to our lima beans over here just yet, but that is our plan, to do a few plants here. I did get a couple of zucchini down here in these pots that I'm going to transplant once I have starts over here into this raised bed. I've got some more sunflowers. I do have some sporadically throughout the garden that are just beginning to come up, but because I'm going to plant quite a few in this area right here, I wanted to go ahead and get those started in those trays. So I've got 4 different kinds of sunflowers here. Dug up some of my nasturtium seeds that hadn't sprouted yet and planted them back here with my pumpkins. And I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pumpkins, I believe. I've got some Jarradale here in the front. I've got 6 of those. I've got some sweet meat back here. Over here on the other side, I've got 4. I've got some Valenciano, which are some white flat pumpkins. I've also got some Snowball. We'll see if those germinate. Those are from 2017. I actually did get some last year that sprouted, so I thought I'd try again. And I've also got some cinnamon girl, which are also from 2017, and I did get some to grow last year as well, so I stuck a couple of those in there because I only had a few left. I got some spaghetti squash planted in over here by the peas, the sugar snap peas. As it gets warmer, the sugar snap peas are going to die out, and so I'm going to harvest as many of those as I can. But in the meantime, I wanted to go ahead and get some seeds planted for spaghetti squash that will hopefully climb this trellis when those are finished. We got some green beans planted up here. I got some Rudbeckia flowers planted up here. Let me turn this around and show you my sad little lavender here. So I've got here, oh, well, this one's not looking so good. He was. I pulled out a lot of weeds around here, and so maybe I damaged this guy. Anyway, that's what we're going to dig up if it's worth digging up. And we will move it to that new raised bed. So just wanted to give you a garden update, get a lot of things planted, wanted to get those ugly tarps out of here. I think the wood chips look amazing from what it did look like. We'll see how these raised beds on the tomatoes do. So far so good. Got wood chips all over them, just cleaning those off a bit. And got a lot of things weeded. As our comfrey grows back in, I used all of it, all that we had available to cut. I cut all of that, put it in here like you saw among the pumpkins. So as that grows back up again, we'll definitely chop it again and cover other spaces. Of course, that's going to be just a little while before that grows back up, but it does grow very quickly. In the meantime, we'll just try to manage the weeds. Oh, another thing I did was I got these tomatoes planted, and I took some of the basil that was growing in our planter out by the front porch. That was our bug repellent planter, and the basil was getting quite big in there, and I had 2 plants in there, so I dug that out and pulled apart the roots and planted some in between the tomatoes because basil and tomatoes work really well together. Let me show you this planter. So I had a basil right in here, took him out, moved this guy over to give him some more space because he was getting big. I still have a basil right here, but as all of those things fill in, it was getting quite crowded, so I wanted to give them some more space and also companion plant the basil with the tomatoes that I had. So I'm going to end right here. I need to go in, and our youngest is baking today. We have deliveries tomorrow for our bakehouse, and so instead of leaving him by himself to get all of that finished, I'm going to go in and see if he needs any help for deliveries first thing in the morning. So thanks so much for joining me today in the garden. Hope your gardens are looking well if you're gardening, and if you're just living vicariously through our crazy life and the plantings that we're doing, that's okay too. That's pretty awesome. And do you guys like seeing somebody else work and weed eat and see the beginning and after? And there's just something so satisfying about seeing the before and after of a weed eating project. Anyway, I digress. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.